You're listening to an audio article by the Common Constitution. Today's audio article is entitled, Another Win for the Left, an Oil-Free Future, Thanks to COVID. Have you noticed yet that only one side of the spectrum has benefited from the panic porn that is the coronavirus? The left, of course. And now there's yet another leftist beneficiary of the COVID shutdown, lockdown hoax. It's the Green Movement. I was always under the misimpression that Bloomberg News was all about finance and real news and stuff. I don't read it often enough to realize I was either always wrong or that it took a hard turn somewhere along the way to the left. I say this because I found an article about oil on Bloomberg Green. Yes, you heard that right. That should tell you all you need to know about the webpage in the article. Anyway, the article is about the worldwide boogeyman of modern civilization, or Baba Yaga, for you John Wick fans, the thing you send to kill the boogeyman. Hat tip, John Wick 1. The boogeyman meant to scare us all is peak oil. The article is called Peak Oil is Suddenly Upon Us. It was splashed across my screen in like 100-point font. It was huge. Problem is, the authors of the piece have no idea what peak oil actually is. It's evident they don't right from the start. Quote, a year ago, if anyone in the petroleum business had suggested that the moment of peak oil had already passed, they would have been laughed right off the oil rig. Then 2020 happened. Planes stopped flying. Office workers stayed home. Zooming with the grandkids replaced driving to see family. A year of global hunkering yielded the sharpest drop in oil consumption since Henry Ford cobbled together the first Model T. At its worst, global demand dropped by a staggering 29 million barrels a day, unquote. Unfortunately, this is not peak oil. Peak oil doesn't have to do with usage or consumption. The scare of peak oil, going back to like 50, 60 years ago, is that we will run out of oil. Supply, not that we just stop using it, demand. Peak oil is the point on a curve of maximum exploration, discovery, and extraction of oil and gas. The experts have been trying to scare us into thinking we'll run out because there's only so much down there, or at least that's what they once thought. The old theory is that it's all and only made from decaying dinosaurs and stuff, and that those things are finite, so oil must be. Some genius geologist back in the 1950s even wrote that America would run out of oil by 1970. Then in the 70s, the same brilliant scientist said the world would run out by 1995. The green weenies have been hoping for peak oil ever since there's been a green save the planet movement. But much to the consternation of the weenie set, we're not running out. Oil and natural gas are being discovered everywhere and at record rates. And that's a problem for the left. It makes it harder, much harder, to advance their bogus agenda of a petroleum-free, zero-emission society if you can't scare people into thinking we're running out. So like good leftists often do, if the original narrative isn't working, just change it. It's like changing global warming to climate change. When they figured out the world wasn't warming, they just changed the narrative by changing the name. And peak oil is the same, as I earlier explained. So they've begun shifting the narrative away from peak oil being a function of supply, which it is, to a strategy of convincing us that it's really a function of demand, which it ain't. After that, you get some industry experts to basically echo your narrative. Quote, as a once-in-a-century pandemic played out, British oil giant BP plc in September made an extraordinary call. Humanity's thirst for oil may never again return to prior levels. That would make 2019 the high water mark in oil history, unquote. Man, this pandemic hoax has been the greatest boom for the radical left since the invention of the riot. This was music to their ears. Life is good, right? Look at what they've been able to accomplish in just a relative few months. decades of societal destruction, killing the private sector, killing off organized religion, and starving out the evil big oil. The voluntary submission of a once free society via shutdowns, lockdowns, and mask mandates, arresting people for non-compliance. It's absolutely unprecedented. And what's even more astounding is that not a shot had to be fired. No nation had to invade and conquer another to accomplish it. This is an historic event in every definition of the term. I don't think it's ever happened in history, and now that the radical left sees what they can accomplish and how far and hard they can push with little to no pushback, you can bet your last dollar it will damn well be duplicated in the future. And you can also bet that the newly defined peak oil will be part of that strategy. Thank you for listening.